Thank you guys for showing up today. First, I want to thank WaveLink, the company that invited us here to speak today. We're going to tell a story about electric shock drowning, and it's something that we never had heard of until we actually had this happen to us in 2016. So, on April the 16th of 2016, this is our daughter right here that we lost her to electric shock drowning, and it's something that we never had even heard of before. We really think it's important to share this story because if somebody would have shared this story and we would have known that this is a possibility, that this could happen, then and that there's some devices out there now that you could actually put on your dock that would detect this electrical current on the frame of the dock or in the water, our daughter may still be here today. Me and my son were replacing some of the bad boards on the walkway down to the dock, and my daughter and her three friends were on the top deck of the boat dock, and they were just hanging out until we hear a splash in the water. Well, I knew my daughter's like the only one crazy enough to jump in when the water's 69 degrees, right? So I knew my daughter had jumped in, and I looked over and she popped up and she's saying, "Oh, the water's warm, come on in," and she's trying to coerce her other friends to jump in knowing that it's freezing cold, right? I looked over and I saw that the ladder wasn't in the water. And I said to her, I said, "Well, you silly goose," I said, "you didn't put the ladder in the water," so I went over and I put the ladder in the water. Well, then I walked back over again. Me and my son are replacing those boards. And next thing I know, I hear another splash in the water. So she done taught one of her friends into jumping in, right? Of course, when that friend comes up, she starts hollering, how cold it is and all this, and so luckily the other two friends didn't jump in. Well, so I'm down working on the boards again, and all of a sudden I hear she heard it too, a holler, "Help." And it sounded kind of weird. They'd been hollering and all that, but it sounded kind of funny to me. So I started standing up, and then I heard it again, and I knew something was wrong, but I couldn't see them at that point because they'd already swam up to the dock to the ladder. So I take off running down the middle of the dock right there in between the two boats, and I look over to the right where the ladder's at, and I see my daughter's friend hanging on the ladder just with this stare in her face looking at me. And I'm pretty sure I could see what my daughter underwater, probably a couple of feet underwater at that point. Okay, so my first thought in my head is something's got wrapped around her and something's pulling her under. Okay, she's got a hold of the other girl and it's kind of pulling her off the ladder. That's the first thing that popped into my head. So as a dad, I dove in, and as soon as I dove in, I could hear this loud ringing in my ears, and this was from the electricity that was going into the water. And when I came up out of the water, I was almost completely paralyzed. I was strong enough to lift my arm out of the water and grab a hold of something. And of course, the something I'm grabbing a hold of is the ladder that my daughter's friends got a hold of, which is where the power's coming from. It's an aluminum ladder, and it's made connection with the dock, and the whole frame of the dock is electrified. And I was able to holler out, "Cut the power to the dock, cut the power to the dock." And because I knew what was happening to me, the girls didn't know what was happening to them, but I'd been electrocuted before, so I knew what was happening to me. And I started blacking out at that point. And I come back to. Well, the reason I'd come back to was my son had jumped in the water. And he had grabbed a hold of my shoulder, and it took enough electricity off of me to make me come back too. And I looked over at him, and all I could think was, if the power don't get cut off, we're all gonna die. You know what I'm saying? Like, I knew what was happening to us. And about the time I was blacking out for the second time, she had gotten to the switch that was at the end of the walkway and cut the power off. It saved three of us, but it was too late for my daughter at that point. It was 25 foot deep there. I dove for her as much as I could, and there was just no getting to her at that point. It's something that I never had any idea that you could electrify a big body of water like that and that it would start paralyzing somebody before they even touched it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm thinking in my mind, being around electricity, even if you're in the water, you're going to have to pretty much grab the source before you're going to have a problem, right? Well, that's just not the case. And so it just goes to show it doesn't matter if it's a brand new dock, 20-year-old dock, whatever it is, if these things are not being checked on a regular basis, you're just not safe, you know. And if you did have the next level of protection that some of these companies are, like WaveLink is come up with a great device that they have that would just give you an extra level of protection.